All right. Good morning. Good evening. Good night. Welcome into NFT Live. Gif, I really hope you like that intro because I set that all up. It's a Monday. I thought I'd spice it up a little bit, man. We are happy to have you guys in here on today's episode where we cover the NFT and Web3 space every freaking day. How are we doing, man?
I'm good. Are we on a lag, or are we like in sync here? Because your video is like tripping me out.
I'm hoping my video doesn't trip
My
me out. Are you okay? Are we good?
yeah, I think we're good. But no, I love the intro. Are you kidding? Like, yeah, the NFT live, animation. Let's go. Can we run it back? Can we see it again?
Running back. Okay. Yeah. Got you.
It's like
All right.
I feel like I'm like Knight Rider. You know what I mean? It's like very cyberpunk, very metaverse. Yeah, love it.
We like purple here on NFT Live for whatever reason. Yerathim Aura says GM OVOT. Asmodai saying regional time of day to you all. Zoo NFTs in the house. Deepak's in the house saying let's fucking go. It is a Monday. That is factual. That is the one thing I know about this space right now is that we are here on a Monday.
That's all we know. That's all we could possibly be expected to know at this point. I actually love Asmodee just like as sort of a blanket statement way to make sure that you're inclusive, with your greetings. Just regional time of day to you all.
Truth.
That is the most global greeting I've ever heard in my life. Very inclusive of you. Very progressive.
Marty McFly saying our vibe, our tribe. Guys, that is pretty much the mantra of this network. We just made the switch to Web3 here. If you have been a part of this network for a long time, you know it's been Lad City. Now we are officially Web3. We have the joint. I'm doing something weird with my hands. I don't know what to do with my hands. Again, it's just a Monday. I haven't really got into this idea. Gives scissoring his fingers over there. All right, I'm just gonna get into my favorite story of the day.
Wait, you can scissor on YouTube as well. I'm pretty sure they have the scissor icon, right? That's a thing. I'm pretty sure you can scissor us here.
You can do that. Don't go to Twitch because you literally will get that like on screen. Apparently, Twitch is now OnlyFans. If you haven't been there in a long time. I just don't know. I don't know if you've been. But anyways, I have been on OpenSea. I was on OpenSea this morning. I want to give a quick shout out to Sarah Script. I feel like I bring her up a lot because she is doing a lot of cool things in the space, but I procrastinated on the emotional support mice last week. I finally got it done. I was able to get to my computer that has my crypto on it, and I was able to mint this bad boy. So this is like a nice little fall addition to my household
That's
here.
that's a cutie. He's a cutie. Is it a he or she or is it a they? Do we know?
I haven't really locked down. I don't even know a name yet. It's brand new. Just gave birth.
But hey, we both love cupcakes, and that's to me all that really matters. I feel like I could get along with this emotional support mouse. Again, just based on the fact that it is a Monday, I can use all the emotional support I can get right now. So yeah, love it.
If you guys are just tuning in here on NFT Live, me and Gif or I guess Gif, you are the host of the GM Web3 Morning Show. I like to hop up on stage and talk when I can, which is
You're a co-host. You're a regular co-host and contributor. Q. Yeah, we could give you that.
look at that.
Yeah.
Throw me a bone here. I'm also going to throw Kane Mayfield a bone. Reaganomics launched this past week, and he sold out. He basically sold out his entire collection there that he dropped.
Heck yeah.
I'm going to pull that up here on the screen as well. But Kane Mayfield also joined us on the Web3 morning show this morning to regale us with many a knowledge.
I think it was more to redeem himself. But
Let's
yeah,
talk.
a little bit of all of the above. Kane disappeared on Speakeasy, and it was quite a scene. Everybody was very concerned. Everybody was legitimately worried for a minute, and so we're very happy that Kane Mayfield is not only still alive, but he's thriving. Reaganomics sold out. He showed up on GM Web3, came through, made it memorable.
He did.
Like he does.
Like he does. So Kane, we want to give an offer to you to be on NFT Live as well. Of course, you guys do Speak Easy on Thursdays with Easy and Crypto. Easy, who's in the house as well, saying, "What up, fam? Happy Monday." Easy, I would love to get your side of the story
Dude,
on this because goddamn, that was just a time.
nobody deserves more credit than him. Easy was able to keep it alive. There was hundreds of people in that room. That's absurd to me that there was hundreds of people showed up and Easy had to hold it down while everybody's worried about is Kane still alive. He did it.
Literally 400 people at max capacity were in that room. He's about to come in here real quick. He says, shout out to Kane. He also missed Speak Easy. So let us know how that experience was from your end, Easy. I saw you just doing a phenomenal job holding it together. Listen, this is what we're getting to today. We got Magic Eden reversing a stance on royalties. GIF has nothing to say about royalties. He's actually that might be a true statement. Although I was trying to be facetious because you've been talking about royalties what feels like for the last fucking 2 weeks.
I'm kind of over it, but unfortunately, this is going to be a topic, moving forward, right? It is to me at the core of at least in part why I got into the space in the first part, which is about empowering artists and providing new avenues for digital artists to make a living and capture more of their value, because they haven't really had many good options other than the agency and the studio models, which really depressed a lot of their value. And now all of a sudden, you had this new opportunity to create new paradigms to capture more of that value, and it's already just potentially for naught. If we all just say, fuck it, it's capitalism at the end of the day, like who cares about royalties? Who cares if artists we'll make it optional, which is code for not really gonna happen.
Yeah.
All right. Whatever.
Yeah. So we are going to get to that discussion. That story kind of broke over the last, I think 48 hours that Magic Eden is retracing on their initial statement.
Well, and then there's the DeGods front run part of this too, which is
lot to get to. We have a lot to package into that story, a lot to package into this show here for about 45 minutes to an hour. We do have a GameFi Q3 report. This dropped last week. We wanted to cover it, but we just, there's not enough time apparently in the episode, even though we do them 4 times a fucking week. Steppen denying some rumors there, so we're gonna have some Metaverse, basically a data discussion. Right, it's the Dap Radar launched, or I think it was Blockchain Game Alliance's Q3 report. But this all is basically around data and the fact that is this data even accurate when it comes out to the public, and therefore people make their assumptions on the usage in the space. So we're going to get to all that, and then we will touch on a breaking story that has sent ON1 Force. I think doubled the floor is what you said kind of earlier this morning. So we are going to talk about an ON1 Force buyout. I think that there's a lot of cool topics there as well.
Rumors abound.
Which we got, the guy that was in the morning show this morning basically was very tongue in cheek about it. And I went on Twitter and it was very open that who the buyout partner was. So he was like, I can't tell you who we're working with to do this buyout, but it comes out that it's Non-Fungible Films that is the potential buyer. So, which is cool. A large. And that, again, lacking that information, we kind of were shit, they're going to sell out to fucking Gap or something like that. Yeah, I'm just throwing out a hypothetical, but it happens to be somebody in, you don't like that Gap reference?
I was just what do you have against Gap? Too corporate?
Yeah, way too corporate.
Too plain Jane, too much khaki. That's fair.
I'm okay with. Listen. I'm gonna lay off the Gap. We will get into this episode again. I laid out the topics for today. If you guys are interested in anything else, the chat is right there. I will pull you up right on screen, right next to GIF, and we will have that discussion, man. We want to talk about some alpha in the space. I know there was a couple flipping opportunities over the weekend, but yeah, just welcome in. Thank you for tuning in. And before we even start the show, I'm going to sit here and look at you in the eyes, into your soul. GIF, can you look into the soul? Like the episode before we move on. We will not be moving from this spot until you like the episode. So we'll give you about 5 seconds. I know it takes a little while for your mouse to kind of hover over the button. GIF, you got anything?
We can wait.
All right.
Tell him, Q.
Now,
Yeah.
now that you did it, we can move on to the fucking episode. Thank you guys for doing so. 10KTF store. You just dropped that in the chat right before we went live. What's going on with 10KTF dropping a physical location? Is that what's happening?
I don't think it's a physical location like a brick and mortar store. It's
Oh,
just they're
okay.
opening up their physical merch, which I think we all expected this. Like intuitively, it's like, hey, these digital goods, wouldn't it be dope if they were physical goods? But I don't think they'd ever explicitly explained how and when any of that was going to happen. So this is exciting news, at least for anybody who's in the 10KTF community, because now you can looks like redeem one of one custom merch from the 10KTF physical store. So that's pretty cool. And again, they're at the forefront of digital, of fashion and NFTs, and so I don't know, it's exciting. Like I'm excited to hopefully see some people out rocking some dope custom one of one 10KTF gear in the not too distant future.
This is what I love about 10KTF. This is what I love and hate about 10KTF, because to get to this merch store, I've got to like, I don't know, go through a maze to get there. I've got to like connect my wallet. So I'm going back to the world map. Is there an actual
Wag me,
store in
son.
there? A little wag me.
The ultimate victim.
Just always getting raided.
Just always, you just cannot stay out of trouble, this guy.
Okay, I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull up the store on the screen, but yes, of course, the NFTs that are within that ecosystem have always been like, merch related. You got the backpacks, the shoes. So it's good to see people actually getting some utility there for the NFTs. But okay, gonna hop into the story. I saw some comments that dropped as well. It looks like Quantum Variance saying Oni pump for 0.8 for a while. So yeah, in that frame of like 2x or something of that sort. Marty McFly's talking about royalties. We'll get to that here in a second. Then Easy is saying it was a little crazy. Shout out to the fam that helped carry the show when Kane was not available, should we say. But we will get into this first story, which is that Magic Eden has basically flip-flopped numerous times at this point. And they are finally making the, I guess, decision that royalties, creator royalties specifically, will be optional. They're essentially going to say, we're going to give the opportunity for the buyer to pay royalties to the creator. We will also run a small promotion where there will be no platform fees or platform percentages royalties that go there, which is not going to last forever. But the creator royalties have gone away forever in place of optional royalties. So, GIF, I know you got a lot to say on this. What's up?
Yeah, well, to that point, why shouldn't my marketplace be royalties be optional then forever? It's just, to me, it's fucked up, because you're siding on, you're erring on the side of marketplace competition and capitalism over empowering artists, which is just, it's not my ethos. I get that you're running a business and you're trying to compete, but you could also build that business with certain values that make you more interesting to certain people, right? Like you could actually take a stance and empower artists, and then see if that might actually differentiate you and make you more valuable and interesting to certain people in the space. So I don't know. I'm not a fan of it. Again, the marketplaces unfortunately do still hold a lot of influence on, what are the acceptable standards and expectations within the space. It is largely up to artists to come up with solutions and to fight back and find ways to do so. One way is not supporting marketplaces that don't protect creator royalties. So in my mind, I already wasn't really a big fan of Magic Eden, but now I'm definitely not going to be looking there. I personally am going to take my ETH somewhere else, or my Solana, my Sol.
Yes.
I
So
guess
get it right. Get it right.
they're ETH and Sol, I think. But either way, I'm going to be taking my crypto somewhere else, because even though I understand why this is a thing, I don't like it from a values perspective. That's my own ethics. But then the other part of this, of course, that you didn't mention in that lead up here, is the whole situation with Frank DeGods, the DeGods, and the Utes who, got a whole lot of press and tried to like roll this out like they were doing something somehow generous or adding utility to the community by front running this announcement and, moving to 0% royalties after the fact that they were like charging a 33% or some kind of a bitch fee on people for trying to sell at floor or below floor previously. This to me is a massive scandal. And I'm not joking when I say that. I think it's one of the biggest scandals in NFTs because what you have here is marketplaces colluding with projects and basically giving insider info. And that's what I see. And maybe not, maybe something else happened here, but it seems pretty clear from where I'm sitting that the Frank DeGods, that they had insider info that this was coming. The DeGods is one of the biggest projects that's ever been on their platform, so it's a favorite of theirs. They want it to be successful. It seems to me clearly they had this information. They wanted to get ahead of it and have a story, position it like they were doing something for the community. To me, that's like insider trading and collusion between marketplace and projects.
It's just all so short-sighted to me. It's all so short-sighted. Like let's put out this announcement so that we get this like mini pump based on like the hype around our project, and then literally 2 weeks later, everyone's gonna know that you did this prior to them, or you did this with knowledge that the marketplace was going to actually move it in this way, anyways. And it's just Magic Eden's side of this too is a little bit short-sighted. Although the argument that people are making is that for them to survive, because the volume is down across the board. I was taking a look at the data that like this morning on the amount of volume that they got back even May of this year as opposed to now. It's like, again, like across the space, 80% down, 70% down. So there's a little bit of like survivability that they need in this space to like compete with other marketplaces. If other marketplaces are going this route, if they think that this can bring in more people so that their creator royalties, whenever they do have this promotion end, creator royalties, marketplace royalties, whenever this promotion ends, because they did say they're going to go to 0% for a little while for the platform. It's very short-sighted, man. It's very short-sighted on both. It seems like a survival technique, in my opinion, on what they're trying to do. They're like, what can we do right now in this instant to make sure that we're here in the next 6 months to a year based on this volume that we're getting now? So, yeah.
I agree. I think it is absolutely a survival tactic, and that's fine. Again, it's like, you can also make the argument that having more marketplaces and more competition is ultimately a good thing. Again, I disagree with their tactics in general, because I think that there's other ways that you could move, and they're siding with traders. They're siding with capitalism over values, over artists, over all of that. And I think it is short-sighted, and we'll see where it goes.
So here's one piece of data that because I'm interested, right? Like this is a case study, of marketplaces going towards this, this fee structure, how we're going to see people respond, right? Because one of the main things that you were saying was like people don't honor optional creator royalties. So they did come again, like, and this will be another data piece that we'll be able to look at, but it says the market
They try and position it like, oh, like, some artists might not get their royalties. It's like, no, the vast majority of royalties are not going to be paid when it's optional. Yeah. People don't want to pay. Like when you give people the option to pay more or pay less, they're going to choose to pay less. So I don't know. I fucking hate the bullshit positioning that I've seen in some of these articles.
Gotttraps is
Stop the cat.
Gotttraps is in chat right now saying it's like Sandbox pushing KYC on their users. It runs against the spirit of crypto. I mean, that encapsulates the thought process really well, right? We're in this like adolescent stage of, are we going to get to mainstream? Here are all the values that we once had as a community. Do we want it to get mainstream? Do we have to KYC our users as a sandbox to try to comply with regulations and therefore not die because we got sent into litigation?
You're going to have to KYC. I mean, I get the point of like going against certain ethoses or certain values, but like I to me I feel like the KYC one is kind of a loss, is a losing cause, right? Because in order for this to mainstream, to be properly regulated, and for it to continue to grow and even exist and not just get totally fucking shut down and
Yeah.
become a sideshow, like the government is going to have to be able to regulate it somehow. So it's like, to me, like you KYC whenever there's any sort of big thing happening, and I don't know. To me, I feel like
Yeah.
that's kind of just like part of where it has to go. The other, like when you get into royalties and empowering artists, these are value judgments. Like the government doesn't need royalties to go either way in order to regulate, right? So it's like it's up to us in the community and the major players and the platforms to come together to establish certain standards of like what's acceptable, what is the ethos, what are the winning values in the space. So to me, there's more at stake here and more to fight over, and more that can be done, to create a different paradigm.
I think that's what Mo was talking about on the morning show as well. It's like, okay, this happened. What are we going to do about it? How can we, as a larger, broader industry,
Yeah.
say, can we change this? Can we actually put up a united front?
Well, one thing, like I said, is about what businesses do you support? Like, I'm not going to support Magic Eden because like I don't fuck with how they're handling this. That's one thing. But a lot of it's going to come down to technological solutions and actually innovating. The artists and creators are going to have to come together and band together, to not just to like for activism purposes and to like support different directions, but to actually come up with technological solutions, ways to protect royalties in contracts that can't be undermined by flippers and platforms. Like that shit's gonna have to happen, and I think it will. But yeah.
Feels like to me that there's not a one size fits all for this royalty stuff either, right? Like I'll be completely and utterly honest. I wish that I had not sold my ape on OpenSea. Like
Yeah.
I paid Yuga about 15 G's in fees
A lot.
rather than doing that off platform where I'm not paying the creator fee or maybe even the marketplace fee at that point. So there might be like a level, that we've talked about as well, where Yuga, I might not want to pay that much. Maybe I do an optional fee where I'm like, yo, Yuga, have a beer on me. Take $1,000, go have whatever. I'm sure you guys aren't hurting for fucking cash, but paying $15,000 for a tip, essentially, or whatever you want to call it, a fee, is a lot.
It's not a tip. It's a royalty.
Yeah.
That's like this.
Well,
Again,
now
it's
it
like
is.
these things are getting conflated, and it's bullshit. Like they're like in any other big established uh, entertainment or artistic field, whether it's screenwriting or acting or what have you, or writing books. Like there's royalties, sometimes a lot higher than 10%. Like royalties for books can be 15 to 25%.
But the
And
user doesn't see that. The user doesn't see that, I guess. Like that's why there's no discussions happening
it's
around
built
it.
in there, right? And
Yeah.
that's fine. So the way that it's built in, like maybe that's the conversation that we should be having, not whether or not it's optional for you to pay. It's we've used this analogy a couple times. It's like Johnny Depp, when you go see his film, him hanging around outside begging you to give him a tip, because he's not getting fucking paid. It's like that's not how it works. That's not how the standard in any other artistic field.
But nobody knows the standards in the other like industries. Like I don't know the
that there's
royalties.
royalties
No,
being paid.
no. Well, no one knows the exact details where it's like completely open, and therefore we're able to have a discussion.
So this is interesting, right? Because basically one of the values of Web3 and blockchain is transparency. And now we're saying too much transparency is not a good thing, because actually then you start wanting to take away royalties from artists. Yeah, look, I like your point, Q, about like it's not necessarily a one size fits all, but you set a dangerous precedent when you start to say, hey, my asset that they made me a ton of money on is so expensive that I don't want to give them their fee anymore that they expect as a business. You set a really dangerous precedent at that point. But the other part of it is just about like, even if it's not one size fits all, hedge on the side of empowering artists. That's it. Like if you're erring on the side of taking away control of artists to enforce their royalties or reducing the amount of control that artists have over their own work, I'm never going to be on your side.
Yeah, the market siding with a marketplace, I don't think is the right place in like in any like debate or anything like that. Magic Eden, I would be interested to see. Like, I think the only supporters of this situation are saying like this is usually what happens in every marketplace. You know what I'm saying? Like in any situation where it's
I,
buy, sell, trade, you
it's a
have a
cop
situation.
out.
Well,
It's a
it's no,
cop
it's their
out.
business. It's their business model. You know, like it's their business model to say like how can we increase trading volume on this platform? Well, make it cheaper for the user, and therefore we survive. Like
Yeah,
that's
we're
the
racing to zero.
yeah
We're racing to
yeah
zero, and artists and creators are paying for that right now. And it's
yeah
like again,
yeah
like I get that there's certain market dynamics and economic realities that are always going to be there to an extent, but there's also like us as consumers, we are part of the market. We are the market. We
hmm
do have a say in this shit. The platforms are the market makers. They have a say in this shit. Right? So just saying, well, capitalism's capitalism, throw up your hands,
the
accept the, trader, philosophy and capitalism over any other value in your life because the dollar rules everything. So take your values and fucking shove it, artist. Go back to work at a fucking studio and,
Yeah, a lot of the answers, quote unquote, that have been like thrown up are basically that this should all be on chain, which I'm interested to see if we move that route, right? Because everybody's saying, well, then just enforce it at the contract level. Maybe that solves a lot of these issues because then it doesn't leave it up to the marketplace. It leaves it up to the actual creator to say, I'm baking this in to whatever smart contract when something is bought, sold, traded. I don't know the actual details behind getting that done, but that of course like hasn't been something we've seen as an industry. Lots of comments here.
well,
What's up?
I'll just say last on like my last point is this whole thing feels very much like a trickle down economics theory or like argument, where it's just like just let the free hand of the market dictate it, and then everybody will be okay. That's the best way to do it. It's like we know that that's bullshit, and that like you need certain safeguards, regulations, protections to make sure that capitalism is working for everybody, and that it doesn't just become a toxic shit show where only 1% are actually benefiting and everybody else is getting fucked. Like
Yeah.
we know trickle down economics doesn't work. We know that the free hand of the market, while it's powerful and it's great, is not all knowing, is not all seeing. It is not perfect.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. All of this to me feels very much like a cop out, and like we don't want to actually do the hard work as a society to figure out how we improve upon any of this shit. How do we make life
Yeah.
better for more people?
Uniswap launching and being a decentralized like automated market maker put out a lot of business for centralized exchanges. But that isn't seen as a negative, right? Like that seems like a positive move towards society getting better. Yet the centralized exchanges took a lot of heat for that. So I think like on this move towards developing better technology, there are things that are created that put people out of business. But it seems like the creators being put out of business is where you are like drawing the line, which I can get behind. But there's a lot of things created in this space that put people out of business. Like that basically Uniswap was like, don't pay the fee on Coinbase, come and swap your tokens on with us. We'll add a little bit of percentage fee, but basically we're going to undercut what Coinbase is doing, and therefore you don't have to KYC, you don't have to do all of these different things.
Who was put out of business? Who are we talking about?
Coinbase and all of the centralized exchanges were definitely hurt by the launch of DEXs.
All right, so you want me to cry a tear for Coinbase?
But that's what I'm saying is like there are people that that get put out of business because of things like this, but it's the creators that you're siding for, which I'm completely fine with. What I'm saying is like technology that is developed and kind of sends us into the future will put people out of business, but we're not crying for anything like to have rules on fees and all this stuff with Uniswap because it affects the Coinbase stuff.
I mean, these are to me kind of different things. Like I see like how you're trying to draw a parallel. Like, yeah, innovation is always going to disrupt, and some people are going to lose jobs, some people are going to get jobs. Like, innovation creates new jobs as well. So if you're like losing out because of a certain technological innovation, it just means that maybe there's other opportunities for you, or what you were doing is kind of like an outdated way of doing things. But what we're doing, what I'm talking about, is that we're so much of the promise of Web3 for me is the potential to create new paradigms.
Yeah.
Right. And a big part of that, again, is about empowering artists and creators and redistributing wealth to the creative class and to communities on a global scale. And so what this is doing is actually centralizing and making it harder to redistribute wealth. Like you're cutting off the revenue streams that distribute that wealth horizontally, right? Royalty fees going out to a bunch of other projects and creators and artists is a massive redistribution mechanism that helps empower communities around the world. And what you're saying is now the marketplaces are being like, we don't think that that's good for our business. It's so yeah, it's just shitty in my opinion that that there's, I don't know. I want to see marketplaces take more of a stand,
Yeah.
And have some values
Yeah.
other than their bottom line, which
Yeah.
is it's not, again, it's not,
Unfortunately,
like,
that's their thing.
well, exactly. It's like it's not that that's not expected,
Yeah,
right? Because
exactly.
I feel like, again, you keep falling back on this, like, well, it's business, that's to be expected, and I'm like, but it's Web3. It's supposed to be new paradigms. So like,
But
I'm trying to expect more or expect
yeah.
different, and maybe that's a losing cause. Maybe at the end of the day, I am just talking out of my butt about things that are never going to happen, and it's all wishful thinking.
Well,
It could be that.
there will be marketplaces that launch, to your point, that will favor artists, and that will be the narrative that they run with, and that will
And that's what I'm
hopefully.
hoping for. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I'm hoping for a lot of that. But I'm also, again, I'm hoping that there's some major players that will also take some fucking risks, take some stands,
Mhm.
like have some other Web3 values besides just fucking money. Because at the end of the day, dude, everything is fucking money, and we can be more. I don't know. That's it, man. It's
Yeah.
like I get that all
We
this could just be fucking wishy-washy, wishful thinking. I'm not like ignorant to the virtues of capitalism and how it works. Again, like my whole life, my fucking Apple Watch, any of this shit.
Mhm.
Like, you need capitalism to make all this work. I don't believe that capitalism is perfect.
Yeah, 100%. I think people are like taking my Coinbase example and like twisting it to say like I'm trying to support Coinbase. At no point am I trying to say, I support Coinbase, but the rules that capitalism provides led us to a situation where now we have DEXs, because you were able to say, how do I disrupt that business model and put that into Web3? And it ended up turning out great for, the majority of the space. I mean, DEXs were this huge development that happened because we didn't set those regulations for that team and say, you can't do this, you can't do this. It's basically like free and open, and they went with it, and it ended up being positive. But yeah, it's a great, we've been having the convo for like a fucking, I would say like 2 weeks at this point. Like, we've really been talking about this, maybe a little bit too much, but it's also an important thing. Easy saying we need to keep those expectations and work towards them. Sometimes we win, sometimes we lose.
Hell yeah. But also, part of the reason, again, why we've been talking about it, that I think shouldn't be lost in this
It is though.
that,
It is though.
well,
That's what's crazy.
yeah, but the whole fucking DeGod situation, again, I think is pretty bad. Like, I see it as a huge scandal, frankly. And again, I'm not in that community. Like, I'm not trying to FUD it. I just think if marketplaces are colluding with projects like that to front run information, it's not good for the whole ecosystem, in my opinion.
I would be interested to see if these pieces right now, or like these different news pieces, are like actually talking about it, right? I really don't know if this is a big story that I feel like you
I
might even
feel
be the only
like
one talking about it that
I
I've
know. I
heard.
feel like nobody ever wants to call out. Like, there's such a star fucker mentality in this space where it's like anybody who's established that has a big Twitter following, whether they deserve it or not, even if they're fucking totally a non, 23-year-old or 24-year-old, whatever. Like, nobody wants to like talk. Nobody wants to like call out a lot of people.
Because
And
it's
so
financially
yeah,
related, right? It's like stop talking
yeah,
about my bags. Stop talking about
yeah,
my
exactly.
bags. Yeah.
And again, this isn't FUD. This is just pointing out that, like, hey, if it is what it seems, that which is that Frank the Gods had insider info on Magic Eden's move, that's that's insider. That's collusion,
Yeah.
straight up. Like,
After this episode, I'm definitely going to be checking out Twitter and seeing if people are talking about that point specifically because it's all around Magic
I'm
Eden.
sure
It's all about
some,
royalties, but no. But
yeah,
is it being talked about enough? Is kind of what I'm trying to get at.
probably not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, the next story we will get to is going to be kind of around data. It's going to be around the GameFi report from Dap Radar. It's also going to be about another report from Dap Radar that got picked up. So Dap Radar is making itself known with a lot of the data pieces. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. You guys that are hitting chat are getting after it. Marty McFly saying socialism over capitalism, not. Gat Traps is saying gotta have standards. Let's get the limbo stick off the floor. And Gift Dead saying, or Easy in Crypto saying Gift Dead for Prez. It looks like
Yeah.
Quantum Variant saying no one is talking about it but you guys. So maybe we are on the right path here on NFT Live here on Web3. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Leave a like right now before I look at the camera one more time early into your soul.
Heck yeah. There's always a chance that we're just totally like talking out of our butts too, but it seems clear to me. Like, cause he had that whole tweet that he took down too. I don't know, Q, like we didn't talk about that. Part of why there like this initial speculation popped off was because Frank made an initial tweet like that was like mysteriously alluding to some big change coming, and then he deleted the tweet. So
Mm,
it seems like there's a lot of hints that he knew some shit was coming. Um, the
as
timeline is not in their favor.
at the risk of using "we're still early" as a term because I fucking hate using that. We are still early, and the space is still pretty small that it can be controlled by a few actors. That is a great case, especially on I feel like maybe a smaller chain, not ETH, right? Like Solana is a huge chain, but so like compared to ETH, not really. It's not as big in comparison, but you have the
It's still
ability to
pretty.
do
It's
it.
top 10. It's like number 8 or 9, right? By market cap. It's pretty big.
There's ETH, and then there's everybody else. Is the point I'm trying to get
That's
at.
all right. All right.
So being able to control the politics on that chain probably a little bit easier than the plethora of the ecosystem that we have on ETH. But
Yeah.
anyways, we will get to this next story, which is essentially just data around metaverses. We saw the report that Decentraland, has essentially 40 users. That's been thrown back and forth here. But I want to take us into NFT plazas and look at this data piece here. This is the market cap and volume, average price, etc. around the metaverses based on that report. So we see Decentraland actually took a gigantic drop in their overall market cap. It's about 15% drop. Volumes down there as well. Average price is down 25%. So like this was actually a huge story. A lot of times what we talk about here on the channel, sometimes it becomes a story where it's like, it didn't really affect the price that much. It didn't affect the token. It didn't affect the community. This affected their floor price, average price, 25%. Market cap down 15%. So
Yo,
like,
I mean, voxels and Arcade Land are green across the board here. So I think that's interesting to be looking at and trying to understand, like, why when Decentraland is red across the board and there's so much other red on this chart, what is Voxels doing so different? Why is there momentum? Why is the average price up 56%?
yeah.
Um,
So voxels, I correct me if I'm wrong, Easy. There was like some type of drop with voxels that happened potentially over the weekend or this past week. But he'll probably know more than anybody, being a crypto voxels user for a minute. But anyways, this had to do with a ton of different data analytics that came out over the past week. We had, let me make sure I'm getting it right. StepN essentially coming out and saying that they're laying off a bunch of people because they had, did you say one user was reported on their platform?
So yeah, allegedly, and so DApp Radar, the way that they're defining users is very, very strict, and it has to do with like transactions, I think, and are they actually using their smart contract? Mostly, like usually when people talk about daily or monthly active users, it's just people engaging in any sort of way, like they're in the app. So DApp Radar has come out with these findings where they're basing, the daily active users on some very high threshold of engagement or transacting, and so that depresses the total numbers. Like it makes them look very, very low. The Decentraland we talked about was like 35 daily active users according to DApp Radar, and so with StepN, allegedly they have one daily active user right now.
That just
Which
does
again, if that's true, like and like even by any definition, even if it's like, hey, there's only about one person transacting on their contract a day, that's still pretty bad. I don't know that it gives a full picture. It's not really fair, right? Like to the conversation about how data is used or misused. I would say on the internet, data is much more often misused than it is properly used. It can be very easy to take data points out of context, to cherry pick certain data points for an agenda. I don't think that DApp Radar necessarily has an agenda here. I think it's just kind of like sort of shoddy, not really defining it properly, and kind of like I don't know. I feel like it's kind of a weird move on their part to like use these very, very strict and maybe even potentially detrimental measurements and data points without properly contextualizing them. It feels very irresponsible.
Some of these reports are actually coming from third-party like media sites that are taking the DApp Radar data and then making some like ridiculous headline out of them. Which DApp
That's what
Radar,
I'm saying.
they're looking at you guys.
Well, and so okay, let's be cynical for a second. Let's have fun with this one. If we know that so much of social media and the internet runs on negative headlines and like shock and like getting people heated, that's what gets the algorithms pumping, it may actually be in DApp Radar's best interest to publish controversial reports that may not be that factually accurate, or they might be through a certain lens, but they're actually more interesting because of the way that the data is being parsed and positioned. So you could argue, again, if we're being cynical, maybe DApp Radar did this on purpose. Maybe they published these extremely low numbers for all these popular apps and metaverses because they knew that it would get picked up and they'd get a ton of earned media from all the different media outlets speculating and doing crazy headlines about StepN and the metaverse having no engagement at all, even though that's not really the truth.
DApp Radar, you're hearing this right now.
Come on the show.
That's the only way you can refute this. Listen, get the record straight. Everybody wants to know what's happening with this data because you're right. One, it's Decentraland. Next, it's StepN. Like these are starting to become a trend where they're putting out this data and then it's actually getting picked up. Maybe because we're at the depths of the bear market in a way, because their data is essentially showing that the user bases have dropped 80%, and that's some type of headline. So, and then at the end of Q3, there's another thing that could potentially be a reason why, because, at the end of September, you're kind of putting out the results from the past quarter, and then you have all these sensationalist headlines. So yeah, we're reading into it a bunch, but there is something to be said about these low numbers and whether these companies can survive. StepN was a step to earn project. Their token is down, move to earn. Percent, like based on token price, down a ton. Like,
so that That I think is actually maybe the more interesting place to be going with this is about the whole, blank to earn model. Any of it sustainable? Is there a
Nope.
future with any of these to earn models, or are they all just, pump and dumps? Are they all basically, a hype cycle? They get some kind of interest, but they're a pyramid scheme. They're built on Ponzi-nomics. And so eventually after like that initial pump, like there's not really much interest or anywhere left for it to go. Is that just the truth with all of these
Up
earning
to
models? I don't know.
up to this point, like the only ones that have been like thrown out into the universe to like be tested at any scale have completely failed. Like Play to Earn was championed by Axie Infinity, completely lost, like all credibility. Not it's hanging on by a shred. Like their credibility
Yeah.
as one of the larger projects in the space is absolutely hanging on by a thread. Step to Earn. I mean, there's a lot of these projects like at this point it's a promotional tactic that should only be used in certain scenarios. Like it cannot be there's no sustainable ecosystem unless you create the game first that you can just pump supply out into the universe to get people to play the game because then they eventually fucking leave. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you got to have the hook. I mean, I think there's like something interesting at the concept of move to earn. Like, if I could actually earn valuable things just by working out, I would do it. But I haven't been actually really sold on it. Like, I've got the Steppen app on my phone, and I've never actually really gotten into it because even from when I first started researching it, I was asking some early people like, how's it working for you? It seemed like, hey, I had to buy some expensive NFTs and then they cap the amount of time that you can actually, earn each day. And so what ends up happening is that, the value of those NFTs and the tokens is actually going down and you're limited with how much you can earn. So actually to even get back your initial investment on the NFTs is almost impossible. So again, it's just like it feels like sort of a Ponzi-nomic situation, like a lot of the other DeFi protocols that I got screwed on, which is why I didn't buy in, and I don't know that I've been convinced otherwise. So if anybody has any experience with Step In that they can share, let us know. I'm still interested to like learn more because I think move to earn is a cool concept if you can make it economically viable.
Yeah. I mean that last piece it's funny that we have again talked about multiple times about companies in the space and what they have to do to survive. It's obviously a bear market discussion, but a lot of those DeFi apps you mentioned died, of course, but there were a few that were able to capitalize on that economic model to draw in enough people and then hold those people over time. That's I think like the holy grail. It's like, here, try my play to earn game, maybe get enough users via that promotional model to then have a long-term sustaining, economy. You release a couple more features, those guys stay around.
I mean, look, Steppen has a big enough platform at this point that they could do some big things. Like I'm not counting Steppen out at this point at
Yeah.
all. Like I think again, like the DApp radar numbers make it a shocking headline, but like I don't know how true it is that there's only one daily active user. Like I would take that with a grain of salt. I'm sure that they're just looking at some really high threshold for transacting with that. But again, because they successfully built a really large audience, they've got a bunch of apps on people's phones, already installed. They could do a lot with what they've got, and so I'm not counting stepping out. They
Love
they
it.
could come up with the right partnerships and the right value props to like make it interesting.
Yes, I agree with that. I feel like Steppen has enough of a user base now. They have enough of a reputation they can transition, which I think, yeah, which I'll drop the story if I haven't already in the chat. That was kind of the narrative they were playing off of. Like, this is a transition period for us. Like, clearly we're in this somehow like second stage or at the start of the second stage of our company. I also dropped in chat the DApp Radar game report, and we're just going to look at some key takeaways really quick. Gat Traps saying Axie doesn't have enough SLP sync to counterbalance the production, so it's forever inflationary. Sounds like the dollar a little bit. If you want to talk about that economic piece there in our own lives, but DJ Savage is saying OVOT, our Vibe, our tribe. Thank you guys for tuning in. We have probably one more story to get to past this one that we will touch on, but definitely drop it in chat. Otherwise, here are the key takeaways from the DApp Radar game report, which we're talking about GameFi now, essentially. Number of unique active wallets in the game industry actually increased, which was a good sign. Game Meta, which I have no idea, or Gameta, no idea because that's on Binance chain. They're super sequestered over there. If you're in the Binance ecosystem, please let me know, and we'd love to talk about some apps on there. September looks like Benji Bananas had like a really big September. I mean, you look at some of the games when they pull up the top blockchain games, we've taken like almost a complete regression, like back to, in my opinion, like 2018-19 timeframe. Like I would need to like.
Hey, but shout out Animoca. I mean, good for them. Animoca's doing a lot, and sounds like that's their game, the Benji Bananas.
Yeah, shit. I mean, what game isn't under the Animoca brand's umbrella at this point? But yeah, here are the top 10 blockchain games in the entire universe at this point. Which again, like to see a solitaire blitz on there is, and goes back to the. I'm not going to jump into the usership data debate again because we've talked about enough. But like that's a good example, right? Like solitaire blitz probably not I don't know what data they're using here. It looks like daily active users and active wallets, but yeah, sucks to see a solitaire game in the top 10.
Yeah, but it's also, it's there's reasons why. But to your point, it speaks to the fact that there's just not a lot of really, really high quality games out there yet that are super sticky, doing something interesting, that are mobile optimized. I mean, the mobile part of this is going to be game changing, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that we've hit it enough on here. I think that Biggie and Savage might have talked more about it, but like Solana creating their own mobile phones and things, crypto moving into mobile hardware is a really, really big deal because, if you can get some kind of adoption for crypto native mobile technology like hardware, like the NFTs, the crypto and all that stuff is going to be fully integrated. It's all going to be native to those devices,
Mm-hmm.
right? So like it's going to be a much more seamless, high quality experience. Um, so I don't know. Just mobile is key to mainstream adoption
Yeah,
in general, right?
most people aren't doing that on a desktop, right? Like you look at the data for mobile versus desktop users, it's absolutely crazy.
And and that was one of the things that I think somebody called out on GM Web3 this morning is, we're talking about the low numbers with Decentraland, as misrepresented as they may be. Decentraland is not mobile optimized, right? Like you can't still really access Decentraland on a mobile browser or cell phone. That's an issue that they got to figure out.
I have to bite my tongue with Decentraland because I will say some dumb shit here, but they've been in the space for a long fucking time, man. And like the fact that you have to say they need to figure it out, they've had time to figure it out. And trust me that they've known about their usership for a long time. Even in the bull market, you could go into Decentraland and it was still a dead zone. And partly that's because the user base isn't large for
Yeah.
metaverses, but yeah.
Well, and we were saying, again, even if their DAUs, their usership isn't as low as DApp Radar made it seem, there might be something fundamentally wrong with their platform, with their world, if it is as low as it is at this point, given how long they've been around, how many resources they have, their valuation, the awareness and amount of promotion that they've been getting. If it's still that low, then you have to question what's wrong. Like why are we not getting more recurring users? Why are we not getting more daily active users? And the mobile factor might be a big one, right? We know that 60 to 70% of all internet traffic at this point is coming through mobile devices. So if you're not there, like you're hurting.
Yeah, I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole, but I think there is a lot of similarities, GIF, with the metaverses that we see today. The voxel, even voxels, man. I love what voxels is doing, but they're going to be in that cohort if they don't, either be super efficient with the team they do have, or they change up the way that they've, been operating. They will be left behind. Just like creators in this space will be left behind when the big boys come in. It's at the end of the day, like, take advantage of the first mover advantage, or you're gonna just never achieve what you set out to achieve. Maybe you did. Maybe you did. Maybe we're totally putting all of these wrong expectations on Decentraland and voxels because they're the first. But
Well, they have high expectations because they're first movers and because they've been the like leaders. They're like they have the biggest names, like at least in metaverses, small M metaverses, these different virtual worlds. Like the ones you know about are Sandbox, Decentraland, Voxels, and then there's Meta, and then there's a bunch of other ones. There's like Webaverse, and there's all these other ones, but like those, there's not as many big established names and brands as those. Um, so yeah, they have high expectations.
last point in this report here, and then we'll get on to the last story. Sandbox was featured multiple times. 4 million people register with a wallet. 200,000 daily active users. So Sandbox is doing well in their alpha season 3. They mentioned Steppin' App and a bunch of the other move to earn projects. Blankos and Star Atlas on the Epic Games Store. Pretty big stories there for Q3. So we'll continuously be watching this. Obviously, I'm a big fan of GameFi and big fan of NFT gaming, Web3 gaming, whatever word you want to call it these days. We'll see a resurgence there, but damn, definitely feels like we're in a lull in that industry, which it's not unique, right? It's not unique in this environment, but there's still stuff being done.
There's a lot of development, a lot of building happening right now. So there's stuff coming, but I think there hasn't, other than Axie Infinity, which again is not where it was already. There, yeah, like how many other big, massively successful NFT game or metaverse games, or you know, there haven't really been any yet.
Yeah, yeah, agreed. Gat Traps is saying DCL could be bought by Zuckerberg and it would just respond with makes sense. Easy and Crypto says, yeah, really need to take advantage of the first mover spot. Asmodai saying, I suggest their back end development of Decentraland is hampering creators. Don't hear much from Somnium Space, and a lot of more metaverses are incoming. Yeah, great comments there. Thank you guys for tuning in today. The last story we have here is about ON1 Force. But before we get to that, please leave a like. If you're watching on Twitter as well, retweet, like, do all that good stuff here on NFT Live today. We're covering a bunch of the latest happenings in the space. Magic Eden. We
All
just
of
hit on
them,
some DApp Radar
all the
stuff.
latest.
All the latest.
Yeah.
And this is probably like the latest breaking story out of everything that we've covered today, which is that ON1 Force over the weekend essentially is contemplating a buyout, and it's all kind of like rumor based.
Okay. They've been contemplating a buyout for a long time. I think this has been developing for a while. I think the reason why it's starting to be something that we're talking about is because it seems like a buyout may be imminent. And so the floor pumped over the weekend. It basically doubled the floor from what it was at, sitting around half an ETH right now. And that's because of this new speculation, people starting to believe that a buyout may be imminent. To your point, Q, it sounds like, is there a tweet we can pull up that says NFT Films or whatever it is potentially the buyer?
Yep, right here. Cameron Moulin is the founder of Non-Fungible Film.
Non-fungible film. Okay. Yeah. So, what we heard in the space from an insider is that there's actually like a handful of different, people that they're in talks with, but maybe this is one of the leaders. So it might be non-fungible films. Either way, ON1 Force is a great project. I got into it early, actually made, is one of my most valuable, most profitable flips was ON1 Force. It's Brian Lee's the artist, one of my favorite artists, one of the dopest PFPs that's still out there. I've always been hoping for them to turn a corner and figure out their internal politics and their team struggles that they've been dealing with. So if there's a change of the guard coming and there's some new life coming, I'm excited for it. And we are giving away a valuable ON1 Force prize pack right now. So we got to also highlight that. And the value of it just keeps going up right now.
Yeah, it reached a floor price of 0.82, it looked like at one point, which is almost a 3x, basically from the floor that it was at, before this actually came out and before rumors. And it's still all rumors. Like if you go to ON1 Force's Twitter profile or anything like that, they haven't confirmed anything. It's all kind of coming out of community conversation. But yes, I will find this ON1 Force giveaway that we are doing and drop it in chat as well. So that will happen in the next 3 seconds. Bada bing, bada boom. All right, it's dropped. Easy and Crypto saying, I'm hoping to win that ONI. So I'm sure there are a lot of individuals out there that are looking forward to that. TLDR, really quick, because I do have a couple ONI Force as well, but I haven't kept up with the community. It's not like one that I'm like heavily involved in by any means. But what is the situation with the team that exists there now? Like they basically have been wanting to move on, or have been getting fudded so much that they're just like, fuck it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a kind of a complicated mess, to be honest. So
who isn't? Am I right?
Yeah, it's like I don't know if I really want to try and explain it, because I'm probably gonna get a bunch of it wrong, and then like it'll just be like rumors and shit. But let's just say that the project took off to the point that I don't know anybody expected it would. And my understanding is that initially they didn't really have a lot of their stuff in writing, and so it got really messy behind the scenes with the team because they didn't really have it set up professionally or properly at the beginning. And so we all know that creates a lot of problems down the line. And so, yeah, it's been just very, very messy over the last year, with a lot of internal issues, trying to figure out the team, people coming, people going, people getting kicked out of the team or whatever. It's just been messy. It's been very messy. And I think because it became such a big responsibility, even more than I think any of the team initially expected, that they were just like, yeah, we want to just get out, sell it to somebody who wants to keep it building. That's my understanding. Again, if anybody has other insight on the specifics, let us know. I was actually hanging out with one of the founders over the weekend, though, at LA Fashion Week. I was hanging out with JR, and that was fun. But we didn't really talk about any of the ON1 Force
shit. You didn't.
Yeah. No, we didn't, man. We just hung out, caught up on all the other stuff. But yeah, man, it's a great project. And again, like, I'm just hoping that whoever picks it up is going to be developing the IP. So if Non-Fungible Films is the one, it sounds like they're into developing IP. That sounds like their thing. So I would be excited for that. Yeah, it has a lot of potential. It's a great foundation. It's cool art.
Yeah, if you guys aren't familiar, and I feel like you should be at this point, we shill it enough, but the GM Web3 morning show happens 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern time, the main time zone that everybody usually uses when they talk about things like this. But an individual came in and was talking about this and saying, like, being like, I wouldn't call it shady. It was just like there was not much information. It was like, this is happening, nobody knows what's happening. And then I go on Twitter and it's like, oh, it's Non-Fungible Films, because the immediate reaction, which I think is a good reaction, is in the reaction that we have in this space, is like, oh shit, somebody is buying this. Like that must mean like a large Web2 brand or entity that is going to come in here and like kind of muck it up, like completely just destroy the culture that was built. And then we hear that Non-Fungible Films is one of the buyers. So maybe this is, at the end of the day, a positive. And I don't want to dive down any rabbit hole discussion with this, but Larva Labs being acquired by Yuga Labs, initially I was like super hyped on, because I love the idea of like mergers and acquisitions within the Web3 space, like DAOs buying other DAOs or DAOs buying IP and just growing and doing all that stuff. But the Yuga acquisition of Larva Labs actually, in my opinion, was probably more of a negative for CryptoPunks than has been positive up to this point. Like, we know that they'll get associated with the other side, but the other side is taking forever. but really there hasn't been much done. Not that there was much done before, but at least they could point to, hey, we're with Larva Labs, like we're
They
OGs. Now they're just
added
another IP.
they added the IP as a utility. That's one thing they've done already. I mean, it's not their first focus, I don't think, to your point, but like it does seem like they are at least working, to do more with the CryptoPunks than was being done.
That's the thing. You go back to the fact that the larva wasn't doing shit with it. But if there's nothing else being done, I would say if you took a poll of the CryptoPunk community, it would be like mixed reactions. As opposed to what you want to see is like, oh
Yeah.
shit, that was a huge merger. Like we're getting all this shit. Like this was amazing.
I was actually on that point. You know what I didn't really think about until now is I am surprised that at Ape Fest in New York that there wasn't CryptoPunks or any of the other like IP, at least that I saw. Maybe I missed something because I only went one day and I could only like they closed it early, so I was only there for a couple hours. But I saw all the installation, all the Bored Apes art and all that stuff. They had the Bored Ape merch and all that, everything Bored Apes. I thought that they would be doing CryptoPunk installations, CryptoPunk merch, adding in CryptoPunk visuals, making that part of the bigger story, but it was all very, very Bored Ape heavy. So to me, that was like a missed opportunity now that I
Mhm.
think about it, and actually speaks to your point about like, what are they doing? Are they really doing that much? Maybe not yet.
Yeah, Quantum Variant is in chat, and I want to open this up to everybody, but also you, Gif. Would you prefer a punk or an ape? That question is being asked in chat.
Well,
Bam.
well, I've already got an ape, so
I don't
be
think that
cool to
was the
have a punk.
question. I don't think if you didn't
Yeah,
have either.
I'd if I didn't have either, I'd that's a tough one. I'd probably say my first one would be an ape because there's been so much more added utility to being in that ecosystem. So if you're looking at it just from like what do you think is going to be the most uh, utility focused, valuable NFT token to be having at this point? I feel like apes have just done a much better job about adding value, adding utility. They got ApeCoin now and all that shit, and the other side coming, and probably a lot more to come. Uh, where to your point, CryptoPunks, we don't actually know what kind of roadmap or utility is going to be there. There hasn't really been any. That one is much more just like a prestige play. It's just like, to
Yep.
me, it's like this is the status symbol, and so if I had to go one, I'd probably go ape and then CryptoPunk. I do want a CryptoPunk though. Don't get me wrong. Like CryptoPunks are the OG status symbol. It's like the most valuable, I guess, to date.
Jacob, cut
I
that
don't know.
entire last portion out. Just have him fudding
Yeah,
the punks, and
yeah.
we'll put that
Let's all
on there.
right. Wait. Let's wait. Hold on. Let's retake this. Let's retake this. All right. Hands down, I would take a Bored Ape over CryptoPunk any day. I just think that the CryptoPunks haven't done shit for their community. There's no utility, period. Look at what the apes have done in just like a year and a half. They got ApeCoin, they got Other Side, they had all the airdrops. Like just having that one ape has been worth like 5 to 10x already. Where are the CryptoPunks at? They ain't they ain't even. All right, no, all
Yeah,
right,
you heard it.
sorry. I'm
You punks, you heard it.
no,
Even though we're all
punks
family
are
now.
fucking yeah, punks are fucking legit. I wish I had a crypto punk. I want a crypto punk. But to your point, there's less utility, or there has been historically. So
I
I don't
am
know.
leaving it up to Jacob to figure out what to do with the last 2 minutes. But anyways, we're gonna.
Uh,
So this is actually interesting. Like happens a lot on NFT Live. There's a more punk votes for ape votes in the chat there. So Marty McFly saying punk over ape. Marty McFly saying he literally sold his ape for a punk. Easy and Crypto saying a punk. And there's a couple other comments that we can get into. Definitely leave your vote if you haven't already. But I think maybe, we're coming up to the end of this episode, probably right now almost. So maybe we have this discussion tomorrow or the next day. I think it would be a cool, I know we already kind of threw it out there, but I think it might be good for like a main topic is like, would you, pick a CryptoPunk over an ape? There's probably a lot of, discussion that we can dive into for at least 10 minutes. So
I love that as you know what, as a topic for GM Web 3 also, we can just do punks versus apes.
There you
You
go.
know, we can set it up like we did for the battle of the blockchains. Yo, that was fun as shit, by the way. So last Thursday, last show of the week, we did a battle of the blockchains where we did Ethereum versus Solana versus Tezos. What is the best blockchain for NFTs? And then we formed teams in real time to give their arguments about the virtues and values of each of the chains, why they were better respectively. And it was a good time. We had a lot of fun. So yeah, maybe tomorrow on GM Web3 for Tech Tuesday, we will do apes versus punks. Fight it out.
There you go. Love it. I will like put my vote into the ring that Solana actually won that. Like it was convoluted, and I think GIF used his power to throw Solana off to the side, even though it was like very much a Solana versus Ethereum debate. Tezos, I don't know, man.
Dude, nobody thinks Solana wins except for you. Like, you're the only one, Q.
Okay. There's a lot of punk want no utility pieces. I think Hash Rhymes is saying punks need no utility. Marty McFly is saying punks want no utility. So, the point that I was trying to get at with the Larva Labs acquisition is like, if you didn't want anything, then the Yuga Labs acquisition is actually bad for that kind of narrative. Like,
are you telling me that actually getting to own your IP is a bad thing? Like, you didn't want that? You want to give that back then? I don't know. To me, it's like adding utility to an awesome project is usually a good thing. So I get that, like, you're like, yo, we're too cool, we don't really need it. But like, if they added a bunch of utility, would you be mad at it? Like, I don't know.
Asmodai saying Moonbirds have transferred to Avalanche, so does chain matter?
I mean, Moonbirds moved. Wait, is this a headline?
Breaking?
Is this breaking news?
You have to put breaking in front of your news. Hold on.
Wait, what? Yeah, we gotta go search this up.
No.
Moonbirds NFT. No, I don't see anything on this. We're getting trolled by our own audience here. This is
Asmodai. Explain yourself. Easy Crypto saying Soul ain't there yet. Q. My vote is for ETH. Mass Mage is saying, can we get an RIP for meta platforms? Marty McFly saying IP is overplayed. Other than Jimmy, no one is really doing IP plays worth a significant amount of money. And Asmodai saying a single Moonbird was bridge. So a single Moonbird made its way. Was there like a burn?
Flew over to Avalanche.
How many respective puns can we make to this?
Yeah, seems like a hoot. Seems like a cocky move. I'm sure that there's other people waiting in the wings to, take a stab, maybe claw their way into the public conversation using these really sort of, bird-brained, moves. I don't know. All right, Fun Uncle is in here, so I'm trying to hold it down, Fun Uncle. But I don't know. It seems like a weird headline, like somebody's just trying to get attention. Like, what's the point? Why do we care that a Moonbird is on Avalanche? Why do we care? I don't know.
Because it's the bear market and we just need something to talk about. Can we get a RIP for metaverse platforms? I think you're going to have to go back, Mass Mage, and listen to our conversations on metaverses. Overall, of course, we are super bullish. We're like perma bulls on this space, of course. But there are some bumps in the road that we can talk about. But anyways, we do have a giveaway I want to share before we leave based on the last comment that we just got. What made you change the name of the channel? Well, that's a, first of all, gigantic rabbit hole that I'm not trying to go down. But basically, in the same way that Decentraland, in the same way that Voxels will all need to really up their game in order to, be big players at the start of the next cycle, we believe that too. So me and Gifted were essentially, having parallel visions in a way on what we're trying to do with the channels that we were creating. So, and communities that we had fostered. And so we said, you know what, we probably get farther together and let's make this change and transition to Web3. Of course, it is still a tribe. So OVOT, our vibe, our tribe. Gif, you got anything on that while I drop the giveaway link?
Yeah, well, I think that was really well said. I mean, there is the sort of resourcing of it, the team building of it, but then as far as like the rebranding and positioning, a lot of it has to do with accessibility and future proofing, right? So if we're trying to be one of the access points and the bridges for, new people coming into the space, providing high quality editorial, education, and entertainment content to a wide audience, not just like, we love our core, we love our degens, but also like we're trying to position this network to, help onboard a lot of people that are going to be coming in that next bull market. And so that's a lot of the thinking behind Web3 as far as like the reposition, the brand refresh, and just trying to future proof and think 5-10 years out, like where is the conversation going to be? How are we going to be talking about the space? What's going to be the accessible sort of nomenclature, parlance? What is not scary or what doesn't have a lot of negative baggage to it? So, we all talk NFTs all day. We all talk blockchain. We all talk crypto. But there's a lot of negative perception and negative baggage because of the almost decade of FUD that's been going on out there. And a lot of people in the mainstream just aren't going to fuck with any of that. They don't want to know. And they're not. And the other part of it is that as the technology evolves, like they're not going to need to. It's about what is the value, what is the utility, what is the thing that it does for me. It's not about what is the technology. They don't care. Again, the MP3 analogy is great because when MP3s were a new tech, we all called it MP3s, and we don't do that anymore because it's about the music. It's about what does that technology enable? It's about playlists. It's about, listening, streaming. That's what these things enable. And so I think that's where it's going. And to us, Web3 represents, a platform, an umbrella under which a lot of these different, a lot of these things are all going to live. It's broader, more accessible. That's the idea. That's why we're going in that direction.
Yeah, and we have a lot of creators on the network that are trying to help us achieve that mission, right? Like we have creators before this merger. We had creators with Web3. We had creators with Lat City. Now we have, a larger pool of creators that can help us achieve that vision. So if you're interested on even coming on to these episodes, that would be dope. Me and GIF, we don't bite by any means. So, well, maybe we bite. I don't know. But we always want other creators, whether that's pre-recorded content, whether that's live content with us, a news show, perhaps Twitter Spaces, all this good stuff. We're always looking for people to help us with that. So if you're interested, Space Smells like is saying, I love this show and all the hosts, but I can't keep up with the daily videos. Just come in here and hang out, man. There's no kind of guideline for what you need to be doing here on the show. So if you just click,
if you don't watch every single one, you're missing out. What do you mean? Like you're not gonna make it if you don't watch every single one of these videos.
True. And if you don't fucking like the video, I will find you like IRL.
You're definitely not gonna make it if you haven't liked this video. That's a fact. And we got beef.
All right, folks. Well, we ran a little bit over here today. So, Gifted, you got any last words before we head out of here? I will say mine.
Did we throw up the Oni giveaway? We got to throw that up real quick. There it is.
Bam.
Yes. Let's heckin' go. That ends this week. I believe it ends Thursday or Friday. So this isn't just one NFT. It comes with the frame. It is a valuable NFT package. This Oni with its frame is going to go to one lucky winner. This is happening right now at the new website, w3b3.life. Get in on that while you can. And, also help us celebrate. Get the word out about this new network that we are building together. That's it. That's all I got, Q.
Yeah, hopefully I can win that as well. Are we like completely not able to win that giveaway, or would that be collusion?
I mean, collusion seems to be like popping right now. You know what? Why not? Yeah, let's just let's just trade NFTs between each other. Let's do that.
It. All right. Well,
no, that's not what we're doing. We're not doing that. That's not how this works. We'll do the
one of y'all is gonna win. I promise.
Yeah, we'll publish it. We'll do the live picker, and I'll record it and we'll share it. So everybody can know it's fair. That's how we do it.
That's how we do it. Our vibe, our tribe. Thank you for tuning in to NFT Live today, covering the NFT space, covering the Web3 industry. We will be here tomorrow, of course. So see you then. Later.